Hello and welcome to my show, the Natalie Noyes Podcast, where I interview business owners, entrepreneurs in their respective fields and areas of expertise. As a natural networker and connector with a passion for storytelling, I can promise you that you will walk away thinking deeper as you listen to some of my guests discuss their various journeys in business, real estate, entertainment, and more. On today's episode, I speak with Andy Taw, realtor, a new good friend and coach who has had years of experience honing his craft in sales and real estate. We talk about personal growth, building relationships. Andy and I discuss opportunities as well as his personal dedication to be more and offer more to his clients, his friends, which is something that sets him apart in this industry. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I just want to say thank you so much, Andy, for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you about real estate. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here, Natalie. Excited to talk to you about the coaching side or whatever else you want to pick my brain about.
A lot of what you do is really meaningful and exciting, and I can't wait to dive in. Okay, so first off, can we just speak briefly about how we met?
Sure. I'm a little bit hazy on the exact details, but what I remember is probably we were at a conference. There was a training session, a breakout session. I walked into that session. I just grabbed a seat because I think I was a little bit late to that one. Just sat down, and then you happened to be in the chair next to me. So I think, my habit is I always try to make it a point to say hi to everybody. And then, I just said hi. I saw your name badge and then noticed that you were from KW. I came from KW, so we small talked a little bit. I stayed for that session a little bit. Well, I'm sorry. Did you want to hear the whole story? Or?
Yeah, no, okay. I totally.
So
this is cool.
I stayed for the session a little bit. We hung out, and then I ended up leaving that session early. And then I didn't exchange contacts with you. And then at the end of the event, when I was heading to I think an after party or an after event with my friend Tatiana, that was when I bumped into you and Danielle. And that was when I guess you guys were going to dinner, and I said, hey, I dropped the invite to the event, and then that's how we went. But all right, I guess this is the funny part. You said text you the details. So I went ahead and got your number and I texted you the details. And I was like, okay, she didn't respond. So maybe this is just her thing. All right. And then I got to the event, I still didn't see a response. And then you showed up and then you said, hey, you never texted me. And then I looked through my text. I showed you my text. Hey, look, right here. I texted you. And then I noticed that I made a mistake on one of the numbers. So
it was the wrong number.
But the funny thing is it ended up working out because you guys got there somehow.
Thankfully, Danielle, our friend who is a realtor from Mammoth, had everyone's info, and she was like, I got the address right here, so we were good. You told me something that I still think about. So a lot of new realtors come into the industry and they're not very good speakers.
Yes. And
I couldn't believe that because from my interaction with you, I was like, you know what you're doing, what's going on? So that was what the story was about.
Okay, so I guess for my thing is I had to go through a lot of struggle and a lot of experiences to learn what I've learned now. And I mean, a lot of people think that I just learned all this from real estate or learned all this really quickly, but I've been trying to learn all this stuff since I was 18. I'm 35 now, so that's 17 years. So I was horrible for 5, 6, 7 years as a communicator. Just to tell you how bad I was, I couldn't pick up social cues at all. Okay, I'll even take it back even further. So there was this girl that I knew in high school, freshman year high school, and we were talking, and we were just very friendly. And then I think I asked her to Disneyland. It was just me and her, and then I had my close cousin taking us to Disneyland. And, we hung out, had a lot of fun. I guess we flirted a little bit on the car ride back. And then I didn't pick up on social cues. I just stopped that conversation there, and then after we got back, I didn't talk to her again because I didn't know. But years later, it just kind of hit me hey, she actually did like me. She was flirting with me. I just didn't pick up on the social cues to do anything.
Gosh.
So I was very, very social. So fast forward, it didn't serve me for most of my early adult life. So I had to learn a lot of things. I would say there's always moments that start the change. And for me, it was a lot of mini moments. I think the first time I got exposed to one of my earlier mentors, John Nguyen. So he was one of the first main influences in my life, and I got involved in that through a whole network marketing thing, where you recruit people and try to sell things, and granted, I don't know what people feel about that industry. I believe in the industry, however, I just wasn't good enough for the product, but I did gain a lot of friendships and learn a lot of things along the way. So I would say that was the first starting point of me wanting to learn things, wanting to learn sales, wanting to learn how to speak, wanting to be interested in personal development. So I think that started it off.
So what exactly drew you to real estate?
To be honest, like that, like I was such a failure in the whole network marketing thing, like because I had burned my network. Every time I called a friend, they were like, hey, so what is Andy gonna try to sell me now? Vitamins? Is he gonna recruit me to something? Is he gonna try to invite me to like some hotel and pitch me something later? You know, I'm sure you're laughing now, but you probably know some people like that. So I just didn't have a good relationship or reputation with people because I didn't know how to communicate and sell.
Yeah.
And then I guess the reason why I got into real estate was I was like, hey, maybe if I got my real estate license, I could tell people I do real estate full time and I do this other thing part time, right? So originally, I wanted to get into real estate as that excuse and reason, and then it just turned into what it turned into now.
From the second that I met you, you have this like very contagious, helpful personality. Like I feel like you've grown throughout the years. How has that served you now? What do you attribute to that and your personality and how people really value their relationship with you?
Well, that's a long answer here. So
it's like 5 questions in one.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
All right. So first part of it is I remembered how I used to be, and I remembered that hey, I was so incapable. I was so unworthy. Like I was not good at all. Like I didn't know how to communicate. If I was to give a speech and I stood up, my brain sat back down. I just couldn't do anything. And me remembering how I was and how far back I was, every time I meet people, they're like, hey, you have way more potential than I ever did. So if I could at least get here, you can go way further than me. So a part of that belief is the belief that, hey, I know you're way better than me. So if I can go from where I was, just even here, and by no means am I like a mega millionaire producer, but I think
on your way.
Yeah, on my way. But to come from where I was to how I am now, I'm very, very happy with that change. Yeah. So I think even meeting you, I know that you have a way better liftoff starting point than I did.
Well, that's exciting to hear. You know, when I met you, you were like, I'm going to coach you and I'm going to help you. And so I've been attending your coaching sessions, and I know coaching is very important to you. What do you get out of that?
Honestly, the main reason why I did it in the first place was I hired a lot of coaches and trainers when I first got licensed, and they were really bad. I didn't have good experience at all. So throughout the years, I'm like, okay, I don't want people to go through the same experience that I did, waste the money that I wasted, and let me just do this because 1, it'll help them, 2, it'll help me too because I can learn how to communicate the ideas better. I can iron out all of the ideas and I guess my competency in that subject matter much quicker. So I mean, they say that you learn the quickest whenever you're able to teach it, right? So I think that was the mentality that I had going into it.
And that's my favorite thing about your coaching classes. I love that I can go in there and then you bring up something and you say something, and it's just I want to like sit in that for a good 10 minutes just to like really understand what you're saying. And I think that having been a student for so many years of my life, I know what good teaching is and I know what subpar teaching is. And I can tell you that your coaching classes, I'm always on edge. Like there's never a moment where, and you fill the entire space, which is amazing. It's a compliment to you, obviously. But I appreciate those classes, and I can't wait to dive in more. Let's go back to real estate. What aspects of real estate do you find the most rewarding in your day-to-day?
Before we were talking about problem solving, and I geek out over problem solving, right? If there's a problem, I feel like it gets me very excited to be able to fix things. And another thing too is having the calmness that you can fix things. Like for example, if you shot at weddings, right? Can you imagine being at a wedding and then your lens went out or something went out? Maybe your battery dies. Maybe your camera won't turn on, right? Like normal people would start freaking out, right? But people like you, if you're prepared, oh, I have a backup lens, I have a backup camera. Oh, there's a Walmart nearby, I can pick up something. Or hey, there's a videographer that probably has a lens I could borrow. Or oh, there's an event next door to this one, I could maybe figure it out. Or let me drop some calls to a photographer network, see if I borrow or rent something. We figure out problems or solutions, and then that's all you can do. Just try to fix the problem as best as you can. If you can, great. If you can't, then you did everything you could.
And that's such a good perspective. I feel like you attract people that you're like, but there's a point to where there are people out there that don't think they can better their circumstance, or they think this is it, or they see the glass half empty. With people, especially in the business and real estate industry, that's not the case, as you just described. What do you think the difference is there?
I think you're talking about agents specifically, right?
Yes.
And how most of them fail?
Yes.
So the industry standard for those that are listening is 87% of agents fail the first year, and about, I think, 92 or 95% fail within the first 5 years. And I think since I coach so many people and I have so many conversations, I see a pattern. It's not really surprising if somebody doesn't really make it. It's usually because they think it's easier than it actually is. I think if you're really wealthy and super connected, maybe you'll have a head start and jump. But if you don't have the actual skills to back it up, you're going to lose all that very, very quickly. I think Jim Rohn said it best. He has this quote saying, "If I give you $1 million, best you become a millionaire before you lose it all." And that quote, I think, is so heavy and deep. Most people don't understand it. Is even if you were given $1 million, if you're not taught how to handle $1 million, you're not taught to be a millionaire, you're going to lose it very fast. I mean, classic example is the lottery winners. Like how many of them still have their money? I think 95% of them lose all of their money within 5 years. Mm-hmm. So I think, going back to your question, sorry, we went off a little bit, but agents need to understand that it's harder than they think, and they need to do certain actions that actually build the business. I think people are too focused on the wrong things. Jim Rohn says another quote, "Major in the majors, minor in the minors." So I think people are spending major time on minor things and minor time on major things. So like classic real estate example is, I see somebody get licensed and they pop up on the Facebook groups and they say, "Hey, help me pick out this headshot." And they'll spend weeks on their headshot and that's it. Not learning anything, not communicating with clients, not promoting themselves, but just on the business card and just on the headshot. And that's the wrong thing. And that leads over to other areas.
What are other things that new realtors should, not worry about as much?
I think a trend I see right now is people tend to do too many walkthrough videos, and that's the only thing they do.
I just have to say, so glad you mentioned that.
It works. I know it works, okay? So for those of you that are getting results, don't fight me. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, I think many of the agents that just do walkthrough videos and that's it, they don't focus on their actual skills.
Yeah.
So once that conversation comes in, like, "Hey, I like that house. Can you tell me more about it?" They don't know anything what to say about it after that. Doing the video doesn't get you a client. Doing the video maybe opens the door, but you still have to have the skills to convert. And that's case closed.
How do you personally stay up to date on the latest trends and technologies? I mean, we just talked about videos and how it's somewhat trendy. What are trends that are important as a new realtor to keep in mind?
I think you got to be really careful on this because there's some people that stay too on top of trends, and that can distract them and kill their business because they're too up to date on trends. So for somebody that's too up to date on trends, they tend to want to change things too often. They tend to want to try new things too quickly. So I think for me, I just follow certain people, and then I just see certain results, and then I pick apart whatever I like. But I try to limit the pool of what I follow. So that's where I get my ideas and trends from.
And it sounds like you're selective with the people you follow. You have to be. Yeah.
You have to be.
There's some people that are they love liking everything. I'll raise my hand on that one. I love liking people's posts.
And that's fun.
When it comes to who are you actually modeling your business plan or your ideas after, you can err on both sides, I think.
Well, I mean, even what you said too, you like everything, that's fine, but that could just mean that you show support for it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're engaging and really making that a time suck.
Yeah. One of the first things you told me too that I still remember is
I told you a lot of things, huh?
You say it, well, I'm telling you, you're a man of few words, but the words you say have value, and sometimes I just reflect on it, especially being someone that reflects on stuff. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I wasn't so intrigued by people's ideas and their thoughts and what they can bring to the table. Yeah. So something you said was networking events are amazing, but just don't go to all of them because you're not, how are you going to meet your clients? How are you going to do your business if you're just going to these networking events? And I was like, light bulb moment, of course.
And it goes back to that saying, like, minor time on minor things, major time on major things. And a lot of people, whenever they get into the industry, they just want to feel busy. So they'll just show up to everything, and they think they're being productive. But in reality, it's like counterproductive. They're just basically partying. That's it. I mean, you were at that event. Like, that's okay to go to once in a while, but there was a lot of food, drinks, and people. Like, I don't think it's too productive. I did actually, for that event, I got a lot of good conversations. Talked to you, talked to a lot of commercial agents, and I actually got some progress on some deals. But so if you treat it like an intentional thing, then you'll get an intentional result. But if you just treat it like a party, whatever happens, yeah, you don't want to go through life like that. You're not going to get any results that you like.
And really that applies to, I think, any class that I've ever had. I'm always thinking, how can I apply that to real estate? How can I apply that to my business? That's one of the keys when I ask, what's the difference between the people that are like glasses half full and glasses half empty? And it's that looking for opportunities.
There's an opportunity in every problem. And I think even right now, interest rates at 8%, it's affordability as its lowest rate in 40 years. It's not a good time to buy. However, right now there's opportunity in there somehow. If you're a cash buyer, for example, you can find some opportunities. There's some desperate sellers right now. For example, I mean, I'll go through the deal later, but I have one deal right now where I smelled desperation on the seller, and I knew it. And every time I could smell something, I press for my clients. So I ended up getting something like, by the way, this is only like a $370,000 condo, but I got them down to like $350,000. I got all repairs done, like everything loaded done. So basically 10% off on the home, only because there's an opportunity to do that.
You want to elaborate a little bit more?
We're in a shifting market right now. I saw that this house fell out of escrow. All right, so they already had a lot of days on market. They already fell out of escrow. I wanted to fact find, so I just reached out. I tried to find out as much as I could, and I found out that the last buyer, they were an FHA buyer. And they were an FHA buyer that didn't have any money to down. They were relying on down payment assistance. So with that type of buyer, they're very sensitive to rate changes. So anytime the rate changed, they fell out of qualification. So you got to think about it. Just maybe even a month ago or 2 months ago, rates were at 7.3. Now it's at like pretty much 8. So 0.7 up, that really affects every borrower if they're that razor thin on their margin. It's very risky for a seller to venture off. So I made all those points clear when I made my offer. And so they understood it, and we got a pretty big discount. Understanding the landscape, I think that's the first thing. Most people make the mistake of seeing it as like an adversarial type of thing, and then they just jump into it hoping to, hey, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm not gonna let you beat me up. But no, it's a win-win negotiation, and you just have to understand what's going on.
What do you do to stay up to date? Read a lot of economics?
No. All that stuff is good news, but you need interpretation for that news. So interest rates are 8%. What does that actually mean? I talk to like a lot of industry people. I talk to title reps. I talk to home inspectors. I talk to people that are actually working on the transactions. So hey, lender, what are you seeing? Oh, there's a lot of cancellations. Okay, so now I get hints like of what's happening, and then from that you form your opinion from that. I listen to a lot of Tom Ferry too. Tom Ferry gives a lot of good advice. Ricky Caruth, yeah. But I would say don't go too far. Just talk to your local vendors and affiliates. That way you'll get the best up-to-date things about what's actually happening.
Do you have any other projects that you work on apart from your coaching, your real estate?
I mean, I have 2 project cars. So I like fixing up old like Japanese cars. So I have an MR2 and turbo, 91 MR2 turbo, and then a 98 GS400. So they're old cars, but they keep me busy. I want to fix them up and restore them. And the MR2, it's really beat up, but every time I drive it around, people love it.
Yeah.
People always compliment it because they know how rare it is. I love fixing up the cars, so that's my side hobby. However, this whole entire year, I'm really focused on not wasting any more time. Call it a midlife crisis, call it whatever, but like I'm 35 now. I think that I've been wasting a lot of time, so I don't want to waste any more, right? So there's a lot of people that are around me where I need to be better for them. They depend on me to take them a little further. So am I the person I need to be that can take them as far as they can go? And the answer was no before, so I had to make a lot of changes. I have to be more serious, more intentional. Because if, like, say for example, like I'm working with a lot of agents personally right now. One agent, his name's Sean, he's a good friend of mine. He has a lot of raw potential and skills, and he's already an avid investor himself. So he's got a couple of properties himself. He has a lot of potential. So my thing is, can I get him to where he wants to be faster? And how do I do that? How do I become the person that can actually give him that support? All right, I gotta be full-time. I gotta be all in. I gotta give him like more intentional help. I gotta give him like more crucial feedback. I gotta listen more attentively from his problems and his things you're talking about, and then help him fast, right? So I think the answer is, I can't control him, but I control me, and I can be much better than I am now.
I love that. I used to always say, I want to be better tomorrow than I was today.
Yeah.
Always having that mindset. I think also it speaks to how much you like helping others and how much it levels your game, right? You're operating at one level and you're like, I need to up that because this is of value to me. Love that you mentioned the cars and the hobbies with that. I love cars. My brother loves cars. I don't know. I need to see those cars. Like I need to have you show me a picture of those. You're going to show me right now?
What kind of cars are you into?
I like any vehicle that drives fast. So, or that looks cool. Look at that. Oh, wow. It's this color too?
No, mine is like a really faded black.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's super cool. Look at the spoiler.
It will be a clean metallic black when I'm done with it next year.
I love it. What's the other one? You have two.
GS400. So that one's just like a basic daily that I'm trying to fix up.
Do you actually get in there and like, do you know how to, you're like rebuilding the engine or stuff like that? My brother does that stuff.
My mechanical knowledge and capabilities is like at a 5 out of 10. But I have friends that are like 10 out of 10, right?
Okay.
So if you can just tell me what to do, his friends, Donnie is a crazy master mechanic, and I rely on him so much. Every time I have problems, like he's always there to help me out, and yeah, I've never been stranded because of him. He's always been able, and that's the thing about a good leader, right? If you have a good leader that you trust in that subject, like it just boosts your confidence. So there's some times where I go to his place just to fix up my car. He doesn't do anything. He just tells me what to do. But the fact that I know he's there if I run into problems,
absolutely,
I'm just automatically like 2 levels better.
Honestly, I mean, I feel like that with my husband. Like every time, if he's just like around, I mean, sometimes we work separately, right? He'll work in one room, I'll work in the other. But like sometimes just having him there, or like one of my good friends, Rihanna, if she's just in the room, I'm just like on cloud 9. Like I'm able to work at a higher level, right? What role do relationships and networking play in your lead gen strategies?
Okay. I started my personal development path in network marketing. So very early on, I learned that, hey, relationships are very important. And one of the first things I learned was, I don't know if you learned, you're laughing, so I want to know your experience, actually.
No comment.
Okay. So one of the first things that I was trained was, there was this study called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You heard of that before?
I've heard the one where like, it's like, isn't it like 4 degrees? Is there 6 degrees?
It's 6 degrees.
Okay.
They tracked and they connected Kevin Bacon to like a random person in like a remote village in Africa through 6 degrees.
Okay.
So that means like, hey, Kevin Bacon knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and then
they're connected to that person.
Connects that person.
That's exactly what I thought, but for some reason I thought it was like a lesser degree.
Oh, maybe now because of social media. Okay. So
Okay.
like this study was like 2003, 4, like back then before social media.
I'm not going to age myself, but I sort of am. I'm a couple of years older than you. We're not going to rehash what your age is. But we have a mutual friend. And so that just goes to show that this thing is real.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
wild. It's wild. We're
Exactly.
all connected. We're connected via one person. I went to high school with her.
Yeah. I love her. And then how I know her is just like through my mom's nail salon.
It's amazing.
Sorry, what was the question again?
How does this play into the lead gen strategy?
Okay, so I value all relationships, I think that everyone is valuable in some kind of way. And I think that there is something that you can learn from everybody. So how I view relationships is, Natalie, there's something I can learn from you, or there's at least somebody that you know that you can connect me with to help me with my problem or need or whatever. And I think the better relationship, the better rapport that we have, then you're more willing to do that. And of course, like, I would be willing to do that for you too. So I think that's where the relationship plays in the play is the better relationship I have with you, the more you're willing to help me and the more I'm willing to help you. And then it just kind of builds that way. And then maybe like 10 years down the line, we'll become really good friends. And, you know, maybe you'll introduce me to your friends that can help me with something else. So I think going back to that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing, I really think that if you need a problem fixed or a problem solved or thought about, you can just taproot through your whole network to find the answer. You don't have to go far. You don't have to go to strangers. I would probably say like, hey, so Natalie, I have this problem with my rental right now. Do you happen to know anybody that might be able to help me? And I ask enough people that, somebody's gonna give me an answer, or at least an introduction. So that's how I view it. Is I don't view networking as a way to necessarily lead gen. I just see it as a way of opening up more opportunities, and then if that turns into lead gen, then that turns into lead gen.
It echoes a lot of what you say in your class about relationships and not being salesy, building those relationships. Realtors get a bad rap sometimes, and I'm excited to be in your classes because I'm reminded that we're here to service and help, and we service and help people. But I've talked to a few people and they're just like, yeah, those realtors, like, and I don't know. How do you get past that stigma?
I agree with them. Why fight them? It's a fact.
Wait, what?
Most realtors suck. Most realtors aren't very competent. Most realtors don't really care about other people.
Okay.
Most realtors.
I love that we're not most realtors.
We're not most realtors.
I tend to think, let me rephrase. I tend to hope and think the best of people. Fundamentally, my mom would teach me this. Whenever, if there's someone says something about someone, you know, you just make up your own decision about it. And there's some people that you can say something about someone and all of a sudden they're, you don't talk to them anymore, or like you take that at face value, right? So I always give people a chance to show me who they are. But I think it's still important to remind people, you know, when I tell you, hey, what questions do you have? You know, let me know what's going on with your property. It's truly because I have tools to help, and it's not at all, has nothing to do with the people that they're familiar with, that they've maybe brushed shoulders with, right?
And then the easiest pattern deflect that I do, pattern interrupt is, okay, yeah, you hate realtors. You know what? I hate realtors too. I have to work with them. I see them every day. That's the first thing I say when someone says that to me.
Yeah.
And then that just starts off the conversation in a different direction. You know, I can't. We could probably spend an hour talking about other realtors. Let's talk about the good. There's actually a lot of good ones out there. Keep in mind, there's 300,000 agents in California alone. Like, if 90% are bad, 10% are good. So that means like there's at least 30,000 great realtors out there. So let's not focus on the 270. Let's focus on the 30.
Well, Andy, it's been a pleasure hearing a little bit about your background. Thank you again for making the time. I'm going to ask you 2 questions now.
Sure, shoot.
Okay, so question number 1 is, what is your favorite word?
Okay, so my favorite word in terms of like saying it or like it means something to me. Okay.
Either or.
I'll give you both.
Yeah.
Frivolous. That's just a fun word to say. I had a friend that I knew back in the day. He was a really big guy. His name's Rick. And he would just like, oh, that's frivolous, Andy. That's frivolous. Like, he would always overuse that word, and I thought it was just so hilarious. And then I started saying to myself, okay, so 1, fun to say word is frivolous. 2 is...
It's hard to pick one word. Yeah, it's so hard. So I'll say this again because I said it with Greg on our podcast the other day. And he goes, you watched a lot of Actors Studio, didn't you? So I've watched a lot of Actors Studio. And so he's an amazing interviewer. And he would ask them, what's your favorite curse word? And I was like, I can't do that. I have kids. I'm just sticking with what's your favorite word. But and just
Yeah.
to highlight this again, because I already said it with Greg, but like essentially every piece of art is modeled after some other sort of art. Like, right, we do different versions of something creative or something beautiful or something we've learned. We talked about how we learn from other agents that we really like what they do and we try to model. Sometimes innovation is great, but why redo it when you could just model someone's system that's already working really well and switch it to make it your thing?
100%. Oh, am I still thinking about the word?
You're good. I mean,
Impact. There you go.
impact. And the second question for you, it's AI or original content?
Both. So
No, you can't say both.
No, let me explain. Original content, however, like structured using AI. So Gary Keller, you're with KW.
Yep.
I came from KW. The reason why I picked KW was, Gary Keller is one of the best real estate minds, in the industry ever.
Yep.
He talks about you want to be a tech-enabled agent versus agent-enabled tech. So agent-enabled tech is stuff like Zillow or Opendoor, where it just takes the agent out of the equation. Tech-enabled agent is somebody that uses tools and systems very, very well. So I guess that's what I would mean by both is original content, but use the tools that you have around you. And if AI is a tool, then use it. But don't use it as a crutch as a main thing.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Hey, Natalie, done, wrap. It's a wrap.
Thank you.